Hey, okay, y'alls. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Solomon Project, where it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep that counts. I'm your host, Richard Burns. Glad you can join me so you can watch me exit this shipper, this warehouse. A little trucking fun. Here we go. So you can get a little idea as to what it's like to enter and exit a warehouse in the Northeast. Right now I'm in Massachusetts. And this is not uncommon for the Northeast. For Long Island, New York, New Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, New York City. Did I mention New York City? New York City. But New York City and Long Island and Northern New Jersey has elements that make it worse. But you'll find places like this in Connecticut. And what makes it worse in places like Long Island, New York City, and Northern New Jersey is not only are the streets tight, and not only are the locations that you have to get in and out of tight, but there are a lot of cars everywhere. I mean, you see cars here, but these are parking areas for the cars. In New York City, Long Island, Northern New Jersey, you'll encounter cars that are parked in areas that they're not supposed to be parked in. And it makes it difficult for you to maneuver. See, I didn't understand any of that because I started out as a local driver. So I had to start going in and out of these places in all these tight places from day one. And I've heard, I used to hear while I was working local, that over-the-road drivers wanted nothing to do with the Northeast. Nothing. I figured they did their time as local drivers and they were all set, they were all done with the local driving, and they wanted to go do something easier. I had no idea because I did everything backwards. Most people do over the road, then they go local. Because most local jobs in the trucking industry require, on average, 2 years of driving experience over the road. So I didn't know what to think of all that. I used to just hear over-the-road drivers refuse to go to the Northeast constantly. Well, this is the reason why. Because of the tight spaces you got to go in. And even worse for what I was doing, which were supermarkets. I was delivering to supermarkets, which was even worse. Because you had to go up and down these one-way streets, these narrow streets in Boston, in New York City, and cars would be double parked. Hell, I went to one place where cars were literally triple parked. And then you got to back into locations where people didn't care. They just walked right behind your truck. They didn't care at all. Cars crossing behind you while you're trying to back up, and they didn't care. This is kind of awkward right here because of the trees and because of the fact that the road bends. can't see too far ahead. There could be a car flying down this way on my left-hand side and end up in a scary situation if they don't hit those brakes on time. Yeah, so delivering in the city, in Long Island, in northern New Jersey, in Boston, in Providence, Rhode Island, you have to really take your time. And you had to, I don't know, figure out how to control your emotions, how to control your anger. Because people really didn't care. In some cases, I would have to block traffic in an area that was heavily trafficked. For example, 8th Avenue in Manhattan, to have to deliver, now, other drivers will understand what I'm about to say. I would have to blindside into an indoor dock on 8th Avenue at around 3:30 in the afternoon. Anybody who's traveled in Manhattan at 3:30 in the afternoon on 8th Avenue and have to blindside in will understand exactly what I'm talking about. And then you had situations where you had to unload in the street. So you'd have to park alongside of parked cars and start unloading with a lift gate. Now there's one spot in particular. I was talking to a friend of mine who happened to have worked in the same place I worked in. We had a couple of, and matter of fact, while we were talking, he was mentioning places that I had forgotten completely that were absolutely terrible to go deliver to. But there's this one spot that I was talking to him about that jarred my memory because, unfortunately, a co-worker of his, where he works at now, he wound up being unalived because he tried to do a maneuver on a lift gate. And my friend told me that he had warned him not to ever do that. So he did a maneuver. He turned a pallet around. Now, you got to understand, some of those pallets that we pull off those trailers can weigh 2,000 pounds easily. So he was doing a maneuver. He was turning a pallet around while it was on the pallet jack. I don't know if the pallet jack was a pump jack or an electric jack. But he turned that thing around and he wound up falling, and the pallet jack rolled on top of him, and he's unalive as a result. Now, we had one delivery in the Bronx. I think the name of the store was Food Town. I think that was the name of the supermarket. Food Town on 205th Street in the Bronx. And the thing was that was one of those deliveries where you had to unload in the street with a lift gate, but you were on an incline. So if you didn't have any experience with that particular store, you could wind up unalive easily, or you can unalive somebody else. So here's the deal. Every time I went to that store, they always gave me a pump jack. So I didn't have to yank too hard. Once I got the pallet moving, because they're so heavy, you know, it's loaded with cans. Some have water, some have oil, some is a mixture of all those things. A bunch of heavy stuff. And again, while you're pulling downhill, so that thing picks up speed, and it could pick up speed quickly. So you have to know how to handle that pump jack. You have to know how to slow it down. Now, there were two types of lift gates. One of them had these chains on the side. That was the older model. It had chains on the side. So it would go from the corner of the lift gate and it would rise up at an angle along the frame of the trailer. Now, if things got ridiculous, you could always angle the jack toward the chain, and that would stop the pallet from collapsing. Not collapsing, but from continuing. Hopefully you're not going too fast, because this is the other inconvenience. The warehouse wouldn't wrap up the pallet well enough to prevent the pallet from spilling over, from the wrap breaking from the weight of the product and just spilling out onto the road and on top of somebody or on top of somebody's car if they decided to make the terrible mistake of parking right behind, which they did sometimes. So you had the issue with the wrap. Okay, so now you got a pump jack. There's a handle on the pump jack. You squeeze the handle and the jack comes down. However, because of the weight of some of these pallets, those pallets can come down a little too fast and cause the pallet to jerk forward, and the product will break the wrap and just go. So you have to be careful. You have to make sure you knew how to slow it down, either that way or by bracing it up along the side of the trailer to slow it down, to use the side, the wall of the trailer like a brake. But then you had this one model where the lift gate had no chains on the side. It was just flat and nothing along the sides. And if you were going too slow while you were coming down, the wheels on the jack can be snagged on this dip that there was between the end of the trailer and the beginning of the lift gate, of the platform of the lift gate. If it got wedged there, then you're gonna have to figure something out, and the thing is that you didn't have a lot of time to look for a solution, because there was usually multiple stops on these trailers, and you had to hurry up with one to get to the others, because you had to, if you're delivering to the one in the Bronx, you're going to be delivering to others either in the Bronx or Bronx Manhattan, or Bronx Manhattan then Queens, whatever the case was. You had to get up out of there. You had to hurry up. So if that jack got wedged on that gap that I'm talking about, you're gonna have to figure out how you're gonna do it. If you yank on the jack to get it out of that dip, remember, if it's a heavy pallet, it's gonna start rolling downhill quick. It's gonna pick up speed quick. You hit that handle to drop that trailer, it's gonna drop fast, it's gonna stop abruptly, and with that weak wrap, it could be a wrap. And all that heavy product could be falling out. So, because people don't Some people, they're not thinking about that. They're just walking behind it, and no, that's your responsibility. And it is. But the pedestrians can help by not walking behind. Yeah, you pull on that handle, that thing drops. Boom. The front of the pallet is like 2/3 past the end of the trailer. So it's like one more third and you're at the end of the platform of the lift gate. But that product starts spilling, all those cans, all those bottles start spilling over, creating a mess. It's got to get picked up. It slows you down. It's insane. That's with a pump jack. With an electric jack, you got a lot more control. You're good. But they never sent me with an electric jack. They always felt that particular store, or at least when they gave it to me, I heard that there were some drivers that refused to load unless they got an electric jack, but they would send me without one. They would send me with a pump jack, and I figured out how to maneuver around all that stuff so I wouldn't have to go through all that. But it's still nerve-wracking. It's nerve-wracking. And if nobody asked me, I wouldn't explain how I used to do it. Maybe that's why they always used to send me to that store, but it was nerve-wracking. When you had those cans of peas and beans and all kinds of stuff. That pallet used to weigh about 2,000 pounds, and you pull on that thing. Sometimes you pump the jack and you pump the pallet up, and the pallet wouldn't cooperate. You yanked on it and it wouldn't cooperate because the way it was placed in, either through the driving or the way it was loaded, the pallet was too close to the pallet next to it, and you couldn't. You had to really muscle your way out of that thing to get it to separate so you can pull it out. And the worst of all is when they used to put the pallets sideways, and you had to go to a supermarket that didn't have a forklift. Most supermarkets don't have a forklift. They have a jack, either a pump jack or an electric jack. And the thing is that when the pallets are sideways, or when one of them is sideways, when the first one that you encounter is sideways, one of them is sideways, you can't get that thing out with a pump jack because the forks on the jack are too thick and they can't go in when the pallets are sideways. So you'd be mother effing and saying a whole bunch of stuff, but you'll be grabbing another empty pallet and unloading that pallet onto another pallet. Time consuming, pain in the butt, just so that you can get that pallet out of the way and start working your way with the other pallets. Now, if they do that in every stop, yeah, you're not gonna be a happy camper. You're not gonna be a happy camper because you're gonna be dealing with traffic. You're gonna be dealing with people giving you the middle finger, people stepping up to you to fight, receivers wanting to fight. It was a mess. See, over the road, you don't have to deal with any of that stuff. Not really. Or nothing near what you had to do when you were delivering to these grocery stores. Nothing near. Yeah. What happened here? Oh, really? Seriously? You're not gonna... Okay, well, I just wanted you guys to get an understanding of some of the stuff that some truck drivers go through. I hope you guys stay fresh and keep it profitable. I got a phone call from CJ and AJ. So hopefully tomorrow I'll do an episode of Whip It Out Wednesday and show you what they got going on. They've been nervous these past few days, but today turned out to be a good day. And they're gonna send me screenshots and whatever else. So stay fresh, y'all. Keep it profitable, y'all. And I'm gonna let you guys go hang out in the hood with Kitty. Peace out.
Arabam Dacia, seviyorum çift kalem aça. Göremedi kimseden fayda. İşler